Hey guys, welcome to Molchanovs Movement. My name is Alexey Molchanov and I will share with you some exercises today for your equalization. And even though some of us cannot travel, some of us not lucky enough to be living in the sea and we're stuck in the cities, so we still can get ready for the future travels, for the future dives, and for this we need to get ready equalization wise. And for equalization, I will go through priorities, like what we need to keep in mind when we train equalization and what is the most important thing on my view. And you can work on that at home and you can practice and get significantly better control over the equalization if you follow these exercises. So number one priority is to get ready for the breath hold, like for these equalization exercises, like you prepare for the breath hold. Because if you're doing equalization exercises with a Q trainer, with a balloon, then if you rush and you don't prepare for it, like for the breath hold, you'll have a bit more tension, a bit sooner urge to breathe, and basically you'll just not have enough attention to find all these little details you need to find. So number one, get ready for the equalization exercises like you're getting ready for the breath hold. Calm down, relax, and do this passive breathing technique, and really try to have sensation that you don't want to breathe before you start even. Okay, so that's number one priority. For the further progress, make sure that you can relax also with the empty lungs. So this is something to scale your exercises, to make them harder. For all the exercises that I will show, you can do them either with the inhale or with the empty lungs with the exhale. And even for the really hardcore exercise, you can even do a bit of reverse pec if you know how to, if you're already wave 4 freediver. But make sure you're also comfortable with those, because a lot of time people would do exhale, or if you do reverse pec, and then being not very relaxed with that. Okay, so for depth, when we prepare for this, we need to be very, very comfortable with empty lungs, very, very comfortable with the reverse pecs, and it should look like that, right? So you exhale and check how do you feel, if you feel relaxed. So when you exhale, and you can check if you can rotate your head and you don't have any tension in the neck, and you feel like you have enough breath hold to focus and to do the task. So that's something to get comfortable even before you start equalization exercises. Okay, number three priority. When you do actual exercise, make sure you do it slowly. So when we do equalization exercises, the way to make it harder, the way to make it different is to change the speed of exercise. When you do equalization, you can do it with a normal speed and you can do it with a slow speed. And I suggest really to play with different speeds of doing exercise. So when you do equalization, you can do it really in a normal pace, or you can do it really slowly. Really trying to engage muscles slower, and this change of speed will help you to gain more control and gain more awareness of the muscles which are involved into the movement. Number four, you can also work on prolongation of the breath hold. Even if it's empty lung, you can work on doing exercises longer and longer, and that's something you can do really to deal with having discomfort, which makes it harder for you to equalize later, deeper during the dive. So when you know the technique and it works for 5 seconds or 10 seconds, really try to work on the same technique during the same breath hold for longer, 15 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds. So that's something which will make your exercise harder, and it will give you more control over these exercises when you have higher levels of CO2 and you're longer into your breath hold and you're getting more tense, and you try to keep the same technique and then also work at the same time to being loose and being relaxed. Okay, so with those all 4 things to keep in mind, you can really work on all the exercises we'll talk through. You'll prepare for them correctly, you will make them longer, you'll make them with a different fullness of your lungs, and you will also work with them on different speed, slower, faster, and that will help you to make them the most usable of those exercises. And then it will also give you a lot of different things to play with when you do exercises. And if you struggle with the like certain things, like for example, at like bigger depths, you feel like you're getting less control over there, over the equalization. Your goal will be to progress with the empty lung equalization and to stay comfortable when you get urge to breathe, to work with your attention to keep yourself calm and stay comfortable during this phase, and make sure that your neck doesn't get tense. And that's something we not always have a good control over. Like we hold our breath for 30 seconds, 40 seconds with empty lungs, and like the sensation of compression of the chest when we dive deep really like distracts us, and like we cannot control our equalization so well. So like really get used to the sensation of empty lungs, and really like work on developing the control of the equalization technique when you have the urge to breathe or you have this elevated CO2 level, and then you really like pay very like specific attention to like calming down, like you're like letting go your shoulders, letting go your chest, and like still doing this gentle, slow movements when you equalize. Okay, so that'll like equalization technique is important, but awareness and slow execution and like being able to find the problem with your attention is even more important, I would say. So like with those exercises, they're important, but also your ability to control them and to follow with your attention. You can even close your eyes for the exercises. This attention control is even more important. Okay, let's start with exercises without the Q trainer and without the balloon, and we should aim to develop the coordination of soft palate, tongue, and glottis. So for the soft palate, we know the simple exercise where we change the airflow through the nose to the mouth, and we can, in general, we can play with all these soft palate movement with different exercises, right? And it can be change of airflow, it can be also inflation of the cheeks when we inflate the cheeks, and we then resist with the soft palate, and then we open the soft palate against the pressure. And I'll just demonstrate those, and this is something you can do as a warm-up. And then you can do it faster. Then you try to catch the movement of the soft palate and the tongue. Tongue will also move a little bit, and then they will move together, but you just observe how this happens, right? And then when you push against the lips, against the cheeks, you always push, you keep your glottis open, and you always push against the soft palate, and then you just work with the soft palate against the pressure. And the same type of exercise, a little bit harder, is with the balloon. When you inflate balloon, and then you make sure that your glottis is closed. And to make it hard, you can exhale, you can empty your lungs, and you can try to have a longer breath hold as well, inflate the balloon more. So you work with the soft palate against the pressure, and that develops the coordination of it. Then to even like make it harder, you can, if you know how to, and if you're at the level, you can reverse pec and do the same exercise with the reverse pec. Okay, for the tongue. So the first thing we need to do with the tongue is to learn how to relax the tongue. So if it's tense, we can check and press against the tongue from under our jaw. And if you equalize, for any type of equalization, you should have good control of the root of the tongue and make sure it's soft, right? And then here you just can like speak and see how when you speak, your tongue tense up and change the position, right? And then for the equalization, you can learn how to move your tongue up and down, and it'll move together with your trachea, right? Then getting this muscle like under control takes a bit of time, but that's really, really important for any type of equalization. And then having your glottis closed and being at the same time relaxed, you can, for this as a warm-up and also to check that, you can inhale, hold your breath, do the head rotation, exhale, hold your breath, and do the head rotation. make it harder, you can, if you know how to pack, you can reverse pack as well, and it'll be harder. But the main goal here is to make sure that everything is loose, everything is relaxed. Okay, after your warm up, your muscles, you have good control, or you develop this control, you can proceed to exercise with the balloon. And one exercise we already did where we control the soft palate. Another one which you can do is just hold it for a longer period of time and make sure you can feel where this pressure pushes to. And that can be like you try to understand how the pressure pushes to the glottis, and then it pushes to the soft palate, and then you just spend a bit of time with this additional pressure pushing against your glottis, and then you get used to it. You get used that your lungs are closed. Then you can do this with the empty lungs as well, and just spend a bit of time. It can be like 30 seconds, 40 seconds, 50 seconds, 1 minute. So the longer you spend time with it, it's good for mouthfeel, for the later practice of mouthfeel when you like get comfortable with this position. And it's in general good for separation of their like mouth space, neck space, and their lungs. Okay, so you inflate it. Recover breathing. Get ready for the breath hold, and you can do it with different like amount of air in the lungs. Let's say I will do it with empty lungs. And you can do gentle compression. You can do gentle compression of their air from the mouth space, neck space, to the balloon. So like you just learn and improve awareness of those muscles which create the actual pressure for equalization. But you don't equalize yet. You don't pinch your nose, your soft palate is closed, but you already start to increase the awareness about those muscles. And to scale this exercise, you can just do it for longer and longer period of time, with the longer breath holds. And when you do it for a short period, you don't really notice this pressure. But if you hold this pressure for like 20, 30, 40 seconds, you really get your muscles tired from this pressure, and then you realize and develop them much, much better than with any type of more complex exercises. So that's like really good, like starting like for beginning developing coordination and getting more awareness before any type of complex exercises. So if you didn't spend enough time on those awareness exercises, spend more time with those. And the whole training with equalization shouldn't be like, you don't need to do all exercises I will speak about today. You can do a small part of them. The next training you do another part of them. So don't try to do everything at the same time, right? Otherwise it becomes a bit like too complex and you'll get tired. Okay. Okay, for the next exercise we can use a Q trainer, and because we have the air control, we can, with the Q trainer, we can actually exercise without the balloon as well. And the goal here is to leave the airflow slightly going out and like try to find the pressure where you equalize your ears, but airflow still goes out, right? So that's like, it'll be individual for everyone. And here we can practice pure frenzel, where we practice how the frenzel will become harder when we get to depth of 20 meters and more, when we get to our like closer to the residual volume of our lungs towards 30 meters and around this depth. And then we try to equalize with frenzel, but then it becomes two-stage frenzel, right? We need to first get the air from the lungs with a reverse pack movement with a grouper call, and then we get this portion to our ears. And then with a EQ trainer, we can do this slowly. We can do the half exhale first. Don't do full exhale, and then you slowly like divide this movement into two different movements. Pull the air first without using your lungs, and then equalize. And then here you can do it also for longer time. The deeper you go, the more precisely you will need to manage this small portion of air when you pull it out of your lungs, right? So you exhale. First of all, it's passive exhale, and then you get more practice, you can do full exhale, but only start with passive. Relax your belly, make sure your belly is soft, and then you proceed. So the movement is that you first pull their glottis down, pull your tongue down, the same way when we did it in the first part of the exercises. And then you use this portion of air to push the air through the EQ trainer. And then with more practice, the goal is actually to be able to equalize with a less resistance, because you'll be able to train your additional muscles, which help to open tubes, to help you open the tubes easier and with less pressure, with less resistance. Okay, and the last block of exercise we will do is exercise with the EQ trainer and with the balloon, and we can even do one without the balloon, where we pull a small portion of air from our lungs and like equalize through the EQ trainer with the minimum resistance you can manage, right? So you find if resistance is too large, you cannot equalize your ears, you make it more, and you find the resistance which helps you like to equalize, but you still lose some air through the EQ trainer. This way you will practice actually like getting rid of air from your lungs, equalize, and then it will be like actual practice of deep frenzel. Here you make sure you don't help with the belly. You really divide the frenzel into two different movements, like the pull of you're pulling air from the lungs with your trachea, with your tongue, and then with the group recall, and then you push it through the EQ trainer. And then for the actual equalization, you also can use the resistance of EQ trainer to make it harder, and that's something to play with. And with the EQ trainer, with the balloon, we do all the exercises to practice frenzel, to practice mouth feel, and to scale those exercises, remember about doing them slower, doing them longer, and doing them with different volume of air in your lungs, okay? And you also can scale those exercises with the resistance, which helps you to change the resistance when you equalize. You can open it to have less resistance, so then it works like normal EQ trainers in the market. But then if you want to make it harder, you close the resistance and like leave much less airflow to go through the EQ trainer, and then you'll have a bit like more resistance when you equalize, and the balloon will push back to your mouth, the air to the mouth, with also more resistance, so it'll be actually like more like same as the sensation at the depth, if it makes sense. Okay, so like if you increase the resistance, it will be much closer to the sensation at depth, because it will be harder to equalize, and the pressure from the balloon will not be pushing so much into your mouth. Okay, so let me go straight to those exercises. What you can do with the balloon is basically you can do different locks: T lock, K lock, P lock, and compression of the air, one breath hold, and push it to the balloon. And I will do it immediately with a half empty lungs or like even full exhale. So inflate it first. Prepare for the exercise. And the main like topic of this video is how to scale those exercises. Okay, so like the actual exercises, there are videos on YouTube which exercise to do. I will go through them one by one at the same breath hold, but just make sure you do them longer, make sure you do them with a different like volume of air in the lungs, and you do them slower. I will play with it right now. So all different ones, and now I'll tighten the EQ trainer to make it harder. Like you can tighten it even that air doesn't even leave their balloon, but then I close it, open it a little bit, and try again. Okay, so it was much harder, more efforts to equalize. So it makes your like your tubes tired faster, but it also helps you to develop the actual pressure is harder to push against this resistance. Okay guys, so to summarize what we did today and what you can do actually like every day to equalize, we talked about what can be done to scale your exercises. And once again, it's first of all, it's very important to prepare for them properly, like for the breath hold. But then to scale them, you can do slow equalization. You can do equalization on the same breath hold for a longer period of time. You can do equalization with a different amount of air in the lungs. Okay, so that's something you can play with and change. Then without EQ trainer, you can play with their increasing awareness of the soft palate and the tongue and the glottis. And then with EQ trainer, you can work without the balloon. With the balloon and with the resistance, there's a lot to play where you change the resistance and you work with the different locks like P, T, K, H, or soft palate lock. You play with it with different resistance, with more time, with different lung volume. And if you have a workout, for example, if you like, okay, today I will do 5 repetitions of 1 minute, and you'll do just full mouth feel, compress the full P lock, right? You'll hit the full air, mouth of air, and then you compress it to the balloon, get it back, and then through first to 5th repetition, you can change the resistance. So you start with normal speed, and towards the 5th repetition, you'll have a slower speed just because the resistance is higher. So something like this, then you increase it. So all this variation will give you a lot of information for your brain to work with, for your muscles. It will improve your coordination a lot. And make sure you don't just go for technique, but you also go for awareness and enjoying these exercises. If you feel like it's hard, it's most likely you're tense. So in equalization exercises, the most important thing is to enjoy them, to relax, and then to do them without rush and without tension. Okay, so lots of homework, go train.